Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we'll be exploring Flyway. Flyway is a database migration tool that makes it really easy to manage your database schema changes over time. I'm going to show you how to integrate it inside of a Spring Boot application. And so whether you are a new developer or an experienced developer, in this tutorial, I will guide you through the process step by step. So like this video right now, subscribe to this channel, and let's jump right into the tutorial. The first thing we need to do is to set up a brand new Spring Boot project. So for that, I've come over to the site start.spring.io and configure a Spring Boot project with the following configurations. So here is my project metadata, and I'm using Java 17 and Spring Boot 3. And also I've added the required dependencies. I'm having a Spring Web, Lombok, and the Flyway migration dependency, as well as Spring Data JDBC and the Postgres SQL driver. So these ones we do for our simple demo. If we need more, we'll come back here. So I'll download the project now and open it up in my IntelliJ IDE. Okay, now that we have our project set up in our IDE, let's go ahead and configure our database connection. So to do that, I will open the source folder, main folder, and the resources folder. Before configuring it, I would like to change this extension to .yaml. So I'll refactor that and change the properties to YML. This YAML syntax is convenient. Now I will first like to set up my server port. So for that, I'll use server port 8088. And I would like to set up my application name as well. So Spring application name, and I'll call the name as Flyway demo. Okay, now we need to also set our data source. All right, so let me put a comment. Data source settings. Okay, now we can configure our data source like so. So data source, and then we need to set the URL. So basically it's going to be JDBC Postgres SQL PostgreSQL like so, and localhost because our database server is going to be running locally in Docker, and then the port is 54332, and then we need to call the database name. So just call it demo db, something like this. And then we need to also specify the username. So we'll say username. Now just call this one user, and then the password, I'll just keep it as password. Okay, and next we need to configure the this database, all right, the Postgres SQL database. So for that, we'll be using Docker Compose to set up our database for us. So let's do that. So now let's create our Docker Compose file. At the root of our project, we right click and then select new and file. We'll call the file docker-compose.yml like so. Okay, now inside this Docker Compose file, we specify version, which will be version 3.8 like so, and services. So now here we can give our service a name, so db, and then we need to specify an image that container will run on. So we'll be running on Postgres, and we'll be using version 14.4. okay, and next we need to set up a container name, and the container name we'll call it just Postgres for simplicity, and also configure the ports. Okay, now for the ports, we'll be exposing the port 5432 and mapping it to 5432. Next we need to configure some environment, and in this environment variable, the first thing we'll pass is the Postgres user environment like so, and then we'll pass in the Postgres underscore user, and it's gonna be equal to user. Postgres password is gonna be equal to password. So remember, this is the name of the Postgres database user, the server user, okay, the one that we configure here. So here we have user, password, so we have to have the same here so that the connection can work. Next, we need to configure some environments, some volumes rather, and this one will be mapping a volume on our local system to a volume on the container, to a location on the container. Okay, we have a location on our local system and a location on the container. So here I'll just do Postgres like so, and then slash init.sql. So this is a file in this folder that we'll create very soon, and then we're gonna map it to this location inside of the container. So location is docker dash entry point dash init db.d, and then specify the file name init.sql. Okay, so now we have done the configuration. Let's go ahead now and create this file, this directory in this file. So to do that, at the root of our project, we'll create a new folder or directory, and we'll call it Postgres. And inside of that Postgres, we have a file called init.db, like so, not db but SQL. And inside this SQL file, we'll just write some scripts to create our database. Okay, so we'll create database, and then the name of the database will be, let's verify, DemoDB. Okay, so it's demo underscore db, like so. So let's change this to underscore because you cannot have something like that. This one is okay. Nice. So now we're gonna save, and here we will run this Docker file. This Docker file Docker compose file that we've created, we're gonna run it now to create a container. So to do that, just run Docker. By the way, you need to have Docker installed and make sure it's running before this command will work. So Docker compose up, and then -d flag for it to run in the background. So when I run this, it's gonna run it. Go ahead and download the Postgres container, and then start it will download the image, this image here, and start the container for me. Now let's verify that our container is running. As you can see here, we have Flyway demo, and then our container name is Postgres, and it is running correctly. So now we have this good. Let's now go ahead and continue the build. So now we have configured correctly our database and our project. Let's go ahead and start creating our migrations. So the migrations will help us to manage our database and schema changes over time. But before we do that, I want to urge you to like this video. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, consider doing so right now. Share the video with your friends, and I want us to break that 100 subscribers benchmark this week. Let's go. So now let's head out to our source folder, and inside of our main package, we'll go inside the resources directory and create a new folder or directory called db. Okay, db, like so. And then inside of this db directory, we'll create another directory. We'll call this one migration. Okay, so now inside of migration, you will place all of your Flyway migrations. Now the syntax to create a migration is like so. So you right click and we'll create a new file, and then in Flyway we specify firstly v, which stands for version, and then the index. So if it is the first version or the first schema in this migration, we will write v1 like so. Okay, followed by underscore, double underscore. All right, not one but double 1 2 underscores, and then you specify the description of your schema file. All right, so for example, this one we'll call this we want to create users table. Okay, and then we'll pass the extension SQL like so. Now this is the correct syntax. So first you specify v, and then the index, followed by double underscore, and then you give the description of your schema as well as the .sql extension. All right, so inside of this file now you can go ahead and write all of your SQL scripts. All right, so for example, in this demo application, we'll write one called create table, and since we're creating users table, we just say users, and then we just create some simple user schema id. It will be an integer, and if that is a primary key and auto increment, something like this. That's for your auto increment, and just a primary key, and then username varchar not null, something like that, and the email varchar not null, something like that. You know, just simple schema to give you an idea. And then maybe something like created underscore at, and then we'll use timestamp for that, and it will be, let's remove it not null and put something else like default, and there will be current timestamp. Okay, so basically this is our user table. You can add more SQL scripts as you need in this specific migration. Okay, so this is a migration. Now when you run the application, Flyway will automatically grab this specific file and all of the scripts that are inside of it, all of the SQL instructions inside of it, and apply it to the database. Okay, once it's applied, the next time when you add another changes, like maybe you update the schema a little bit, I'll show you that in a sec. Flyway will know that you have updated the schema, and it will apply the new changes as well. So it's kind of like gate for your database. Okay, so now let's go ahead and test this migration and see what it looks like. Before we test our application, if you are using the ultimate version of IntelliJ, you can head over to the database utility here and connect your database server to your application. You know, just connect it inside of IntelliJ. But if you don't have the ultimate version of IntelliJ, you can use other tools like dbeaver or maybe another one like pgadmin to see your database tables. Okay, for me, I'm going to use the integrated database tool inside IntelliJ IDEA. So for this, I'll click on here, this plus button, and select data source Postgres. Now I will connect this to my Postgres database, and the connection detail is for user is user as we set up, and password is just password. And also I would like to set up my schemas, and then I will select the demo DB, that's my database, and then select all schemas. Now I apply this, select OK, and it should connect in a sec. Now when we open up this drop down, you see we have two databases here. We have this default database that comes with Postgres, we have nothing to do with it, just keep it as it is. And then we also have our own database, DemoDB. This is what we're going to look into. And here we have some schemas, but we want to work with the public schema. And if you look, it's empty. There's nothing inside this public schema at the moment. All right, so now let's go ahead and start our application and watch Flyway do its magic. So I'll click on the start button here and look at the logs. So you can see here that the whole thing started from here, give us a process ID, and we have no active profile, so it resulted to the default profile. It went down all the way here. Our application successfully started on this port, and after that it started the servlet engine, initializing all those Spring context stuff. Then it came down to the Flyway part. Okay, and notice that we have Flyway in our class path, pick it up and went down, added the connection screen to connect to the database. And after that, it noticed that we have no schema history, in our database. Our database is absolutely empty, so it automatically created for us this table, Flyway schema history. It noticed that it does not exist, so it created it. After that, it successfully validated one migration. So this migration that we have right here, it validated it. Check it out, it applied and then validated it. Okay, Then after that, you can see as part of that process, it created for us automatically the table, the users table that we define in that. If we have more tables there or more SQL statements there, it will automatically apply those for us as well. So now after everything, you can see here that it successfully applied one migration to the schema public, and it set it at version 1. So if you now look inside of your database this thing, you'll notice that if you refresh and come back to public, let me refresh the database itself. Okay, so schema. Now when we come to the public schema, you'll notice that we have a folder called tables, and if we open tables, we have two tables. So we have one called Flyway schema history table. This one is there by Flyway. He created it and he's going to manage it for us. Then we have another one called users. So this is the users table that we define. We define inside of the script, and Flyway apply and create it for us automatically. So now we don't need to manually apply that. Flyway take care of it, and also track that changes. Okay, so let's see the inputs in this folder. So I think it's edit data. Yeah. So now when you look here, I'll close this so that you'll see that we have apply one migration, and Flyway is tracking that in its own database for us. Okay, so you see this is the name of the script, the type is SQL, the description, create users table, and then the version as well. So you can see Flyway apply everything for us, and it's keeping track of it, correctly. Now let's go ahead and add another migration schema and see how Flyway will do that do the next migration. Okay, so now let's say we have a new requirement within our application, that is to add a new field inside of the users table that will hold the user's date of birth. So to implement this requirement, we'll need to create a new schema for the users table, right? So for that, we'll come over to our db.migrations folder in the resources directory, and we'll create a new file. We're going to call this v2 __, remember the syntax, and then add a description. So we'll say add date of birth column to users table, something like this, .sql. Okay, so now inside of this new table, this new SQL schema, we'll write the script that we need to modify this users table to have a new field of date of birth. So let's write that. So the command, the SQL script to do that is alter table, and then the name of the table is users. Okay, so we can verify from here, users, and then what we want to do is we want to add a new column called date of birth, something like this, and then we'll specify also the data type. So it's going to be varchar 00255. All right, awesome. So now that we have added this the script, whenever we start our application, the Flyway will automatically detect that okay, there's a new migration, and it will check its table, its Flyway history table. It will check it and make sure that it will check it and know that this migration is not applied. So once it notices that it's not applied, it will go ahead and apply it. But when it checks, it will notice that this first one, for example, is already applied, so it will not apply. It will skip it and then come to the next one and apply it automatically without any effort on the developer's part. So let's go ahead and run this and see how it goes. So now everything is rolling, and voila, it went through correctly. You can see it successfully updated 2 migrations, one the public schema. You notice that there's nothing to do here, so we just went on, and then as you can see, it's the current version of the schema, so there's no changes there. But then it went ahead and did some migration here for this new schema, the version 2. So this add date of birth column to users table, he applied it first. So now if we collapse all of these and check our table, I'm going to close this too for room. We're going to refresh our schema here, and when I open this table, we'll see that we have our users table and our Flyway schema. But now inside of our Flyway schema, if we check up the data, we'll see that we have two rows, two inputs. So we have the first schema migration that was tracked, and then the second one that is tracked. So this is like kind of a gate for our database migration. And also if we look at our users table now, if you check the columns, you'll notice that we have a brand new column called date of birth that's been added. So you can already see how useful Flyway is when it comes to automatically migrating your database schemas for you. So that's it, you have it. That's Flyway, and that's how you integrate it into a Spring Boot application. And that's a wrap. In this tutorial, we covered the step-by-step process of integrating Flyway into a Spring Boot application. We went ahead and set up our project. We added our database configurations. We also created our migration script, and then we automatically applied those scripts during the application startup. So that's how we come to the end of this video. I hope you find some value in it. If you do, kindly subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share with your friends. See you next time.